It was the summer of 1970 when my parents placed me in the back of the car with gentleness and love. I was tiny and scrawny. I was taken home to be fed and nourished. I was happy. When we got into my new home, they set me right next to a window on the east side of the house. A few months later, my baby brother came home. He was smaller and more dependent on my parents than I was, but that was okay. He got most of their attention anyway, and that would not change. At first I thought my parents named him Baby, which I thought was odd, because for almost a year all I heard was, "The baby is crying. See what the baby needs. Change the baby." Later I found out that the baby was actually named Evan. As Evan started to walk and talk, he could not pronounce my name properly, and it came out only as T. As the year passed, both Evan and I grew in strength and knowledge. I started to understand the conversations Mom and Dad were having. On nice days, Mom would bring Evan outside, and they would sit on a blanket next to me, and we would all laugh and talk. Sometimes they would have a picnic with me. Those were the best days, and I remember them fondly. All was right in the world. Older and stronger than Evan, I felt it was my responsibility to help in any way I could. Watching him grow over the years was a blessing to me. Being there in the good times and the bad. He would come outside and we would talk, him telling me how his day went and who he liked and disliked. On nice spring days, they would leave the windows open, and from where I was situated, I was privy to a lot of Mom and Dad's conversations, such as when they would watch the nightly news on television. Mom really liked this news guy, Walter Cronkite. However, Dad was very sad and nervous about a war in a place I was not familiar with, Vietnam. They would talk about seeing so many young men coming back in military planes on the news. Dad would say, "What a waste! War should be fought between the warring nations' political leaders and their family members. Then you would see the number of wars decreased." Some nights Mom and Dad were in a happy mood when Evan was asleep, and they would put on a record. Then they would start singing and dancing to the music. One of their favorites was by a performer named Elvis and his song, "Can't Help Falling in Love." I had not heard of this singer, but some of my older friends in the neighborhood told me about him. One said they remember the day Elvis was drafted into the Army. That was a big deal. One summer when Evan was about 10 years old, we were playing outside together in the backyard, and he fell and broke his arm. I felt so bad. I was depressed for days. I thought he was blaming me and did not want to be my friend anymore. However, our love for each other was strong, and he came back a few weeks later. We sat and talked it out. I told him the best I could how very sorry I was that he fell, and he said it was his fault for slipping out of my grasp. When Evan was in elementary school, I got sick and felt awful. I had a very bad rash. It was as if something was sucking the life right out of me. Mom called a doctor to come to the house to see what was wrong. He sprayed some medicine on me, which felt good. It relieved the itching, and I recovered. Dad was the barber of the house, and whenever Evan or I became shaggy, as Dad would say, he would take out the clippers and give us a trim. He had very caring hands. But if he trimmed me too close, he would dab some salve on the spot, which was very comforting. As the years went by, Evan and I grew closer. He was in junior high school now. Geez, what an experience that was. He was so confused about life, and we would sit and talk about our emotions and our mood swings. Everyone and everything have them. We all want to fit in, but at that age it is very hard to feel accepted. as Evan got older, he would still call me T. It felt good. One day, he came home crying, went directly outside and sat next to me. He told me some of his classmates were making fun of his clothes. T, he said, why are kids so mean? Unfortunately, I could not answer that question. All I could do was listen and offer him some shade. I felt like telling him even my friends in the neighborhood can be petty and mean, but we just have to accept them anyway. When Evan was not at home, I would talk to the neighbors. Think of it like having one of those old telephone party lines in the neighborhood where several homes would share the same landline and have communal conversations. Some of my best friends in the neighborhood were great conversationalists, but some annoyed me and would not stop talking and complaining. Even in the middle of the night, I could hear them griping about their health, the weather, or the landscapers. I also noticed that they were taking on the personalities and traits of the families they were living by. Bruce, for instance, he was turning very angry and argumentative. I could hear his family members yelling at each other late into the night. I was very lucky. I was surrounded by love and compassion and a younger brother who I was very close to. Every now and then, there would be a group of workers that would come around the neighborhood to maintain us. Most of them did their work in a mechanical sort of way. However, there was one landscaper that was very special and everyone liked, Carlos. He was gentle and would even talk to us as he was working, asking things like, "How are you doing today?" He made us feel special. One summer day, he saw I was looking a little droopy and sad and said, "It looks like my friend needs some water," which I did. Carlos went to the hose next to me and turned it on and gave me a drink of water. That made me feel a lot better. Other workers would treat us roughly and not really care if they hurt us. When trimming our shagginess, they would cut and rip at us in a very aggressive way. It felt like we were being assaulted. It's like when you trim your fingernails too close. It hurts for days. Carlos was very careful not to cut too close and would take his time when working on us. As I grew taller and stronger, Evan was always redecorating his room, adding accessories like movie posters from Rocky, Star Wars, and Jaws. Not my favorite, but Mom and Dad let him hang it up there anyway. He put a lava lamp on the nightstand next to his bed. Sometimes when I had trouble sleeping, I would watch the lava lamp do its thing, and that would relax me. One day he brought home MR, a lovable hamster. I would watch MR for countless hours running around in his cage and on his wheel. Life was good. The only time I got jealous was when Mom brought home a dog for the family. The Beast, as I would address it. But actually they named it Ginger. At first, Evan spent most of his time with her. I thought the dog was nuts, always barking and shaking and running around like she was possessed. He would bring her outside and they would sit next to me. Evan would take a part of me that was on the ground and throw it far away in the yard, and Ginger would go get it and bring it back to him. Big deal, I thought. If I had legs, I could do the same. Can Ginger lose all her hair every year and grow it back in the spring? I don't think so. However, I did feel bad the day Ginger passed because I knew how much Evan loved her. When someone you love is sad, you get sad too. Even though I thought I did not like the Beast, I think my family knew that. And just to teach me a lesson, they planted Ginger underneath me as her final resting place. For a few days, we did not talk to each other. Then one day she told me her life story. As a puppy, She was treated badly, and that was why she was always nervous and shaky. She had low self-esteem. Then I felt bad for not understanding her and not being a friend. Over the years, Ginger and I became good buddies, and I grew to love her. I learned a very important lesson from Ginger. Never judge anyone or anything because most of us do not know their whole story. One day I saw Mom sitting in Evan's room crying. I did not know why, but the movie posters were gone, along with the lava lamp. Now the only thing on his wall was a Florida State University poster, which Mom hung up. We had not seen Evan for a while, and we were all sad. For several years, we would only see him occasionally during the summer and the holidays. Those were long and lonely spans of time. Then one day, he brought a girl home, and I heard them talking with Mom and Dad. Evan was getting married. I did not know if I should be happy for him or sad for me, because I knew I would be seeing him less. A few days later, Evan and his girlfriend, now fiancée, came out and sat under me and talked. He introduced me and told her I was his best friend. That made me happy. I liked her. They sat and talked for a while about their love for each other and a future together. They even gave me a tattoo that day. Their initials. I wore it with pride. Their wedding was in the backyard where I could see everything. It was one of the best days of my life. I was in charge of shade for the guests, and I took my job very seriously. I'd never seen Evan so happy. The guests ate, drank, and laughed. Beatles music played late into the night. Some of my friends, especially Bruce, yelled at me to have to turn the music down because they wanted to get some sleep. I noticed Bruce was getting grumpier as the years passed. I think the main reason for his bad attitude was that he was slowly losing all his hair. Each new year, less was growing back. The days turned into months, and months into seasons. I was lonely without Evan to talk to, but every now and then he and his wife would come home to visit Mom and Dad, especially on holidays. Evan's room was now a den for both Mom and Dad, where they would talk, read, and listen to music. They still loved Elvis. One night, I heard them talking very seriously, and something was wrong. Mom was even crying. I didn't understand, and I don't know what cancer means. Dad looked extremely sad, which made me sad too. I did not see Mom for a while, but when I did, she looked different. Her hair was all gone. I told her not to worry. I lose all my hair in the fall, and it always comes back. Later they moved a bed into the den, and Mom would lie in it for long periods of time. She would look at me and smile. If I could take her sickness away, I would. I felt so helpless. All I could do is to offer her a loving view of me, her oldest son. That fall, I tried my hardest to give her the most colorful experience I could muster. I could tell she liked it by her faint smile. It was a cold and cloudy day in winter when they opened the shades in the den. I saw people moving her bed out. I never saw Mom after that. For days, Dad would wander in and out of the den. Many nights, he would put on the Elvis record and listen to Can't Help Falling in Love. He would sit there for hours, just staring at where Mom's bed used to be. One day I saw Dad packing and moving a lot of things out of the house. It looked bare. His last stop was the den. He just stood there for a while, and I thought I saw his lips move to say, "Can't help falling in love with you." And then soon he was gone. I told all my neighbors what was going on. They were very supportive of me during this dark time, and even Bruce stopped complaining, but only for a while. The days turned into weeks, then into months and years. I'd never been so lonely. You know, when you have a family around you and then they are gone, it can be very depressing. One day I was talking to some of my friends about my situation. They were holding a mind, bark, and spirit therapy session for me. I was awakened out of my state of being present by someone raising the window blinds, and I saw Evan in his old room. He was painting it with bright pink colors, and I was confused. Suddenly it all came together when he brought in a crib, much like the one Mom and Dad had for him many years ago. Evan and his wife moved into the house shortly after that. Then, one day they brought home a baby. I was an uncle, Uncle T. And as I started my story, all is right in the world.